Welcome to Sleepy Hollow Presbyterian Church. Our good Pastor Bev is tested positive for COVID, so she's out today. She said she has basically cold symptoms, but she should be back. Nice to see all of you. Today we're going to discuss faith and bringing devotion into the work of our lives and having the courage to do what God calls us to do. So let us prepare our hearts and our minds for worship.
This song that says, "Truly my hope is in you." I invite you, if you feel so called, to join us in singing this refrain. For you, O Lord, my soul in stillness waits. Truly my hope is in you, O Lord of light, our only hope of glory. Your radiance shines in all who look to you. Come like the hearts of all who live in shadow. For you, O Lord, my soul in stillness waits. Truly my hope is in you. O spring of joy, rain down upon our spirits. Our thirsty hearts are longing for your word. Come make us whole, be comfort to our hearts. For you, O Lord, my soul in stillness waits. Truly my hope is in you. O Key of knowledge, guide us in your pilgrimage. We ever seek, yet unfulfilled remain. Open to us the pathway of your peace. For you, O Lord, my soul in stillness waits. Truly my hope is in you.
Please join me in the call to worship. We gather as God's beloved community. We gather to be filled with God's peace. We gather to listen for God's words for us today. Let us worship God.
And sing our opening hymn, God of Grace and God of Glory.
Of glory on thy people, pour thy power, crown thine ancient church's story, bring its bud to glorious flower. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the facing of this hour, for the facing of this hour. Although the hosts of evil around us scorn thy Christ, assail his ways. From the fears that long have bound us, free our hearts to faith and praise. Grant us wisdom, grant us courage for the living of these days. For the living of these days. And cure thy children's warring madness. Bend our pride
please join me in the unison prayer on your bulletin. Gracious God, open our hearts so that we might love as we are loved. Awaken us to your Spirit moving in us and among us. Free us from worry and fear. Align us with your values and priorities for us. Fill us with your compassion and peace. Now please take a silent moment to listen for God's loving voice for you today. Amen. Now, for the assurance of grace, the love of God and the faith of Christ and the community of Holy Spirit, all of these things are freely given to us. We don't have to do anything to earn them. We don't have to work for them. The only work that we have to do is to stay honest in our hearts. Amen. So as people in community with the Holy Spirit and such, let's pass the peace to each other. May God's peace be with you. Let's pass the peace.
Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Hallelujah. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. You alone, O Lord, are holy. Come and fill our hearts with your peace. Hallelujah.
Hi, Claire. Hi, Jordan. So, I'm Ryan. Nice to have everybody here. I guess everybody could join into this children's time, too. So, I brought some random objects. One of the readings today, the gospel reading, talks about things that are perishable and things that are not. So I'll lay these out. I have a football and a ceramic bowl and a banana and a glove. So if we had to guess, what would we say if we put these all outside, sort of next to each other, and just left them out for months or years even, which one would last the shortest amount of time, do you think? Banana, right? It's like mostly organic matter. And what might last the longest? I'm not entirely sure, but what would you guess? The bull. That's a good guess. It's clay. Plus it has this, is it acrylic glaze? And then this football, I don't think this is leather. I think it's some kind of oil-based thing. Has some plastics in it. And then I looked at the ingredients in this. So this glove is like mostly wool, but it's 42% acrylic. So I think this oil-based stuff might take a little bit longer. But all that is to say is, so if we left these out all outside, we would see that they wouldn't last forever, right? So what if we could just start throwing things out? What do you think would last longer than any of these four things if you had it outside? You can answer too, Jordan, or anybody else too. Metal. Yeah, that's a good one. A rock, or even like a big rock, like a hill or a mountain. Yeah, it could be. It could be. It's a good. Right. So there's a lot of things that last a long time, and then even things like mountains or this planet or the sun. These things have like really long time frames, but they're all limited. They'll all sort of disappear. So, in the reading today, what if you had to guess? What is something that does not perish? What's something that's not perishable? If you can think of anything, or anyone else too. Something that's not perishable. It's not easy. Yeah. If, Claire, when have you, maybe for your mom, have you done something nice for your mom? Like in the recent past, would you say? What if you were going to do a nice thing for your mom, like what do you do?
Well, one time my parents were really lazy one day.
Yeah, just once. Right.
we made breakfast for them.
Oh my gosh.
We were like their servers
That's great.
for like for lunch.
Right.
Breakfast.
That's beautiful. So the breakfast probably didn't last long. It got eaten up, right? But the act of kindness itself. So it's interesting if we think about something like that is beautiful, an act of kindness or an act of generosity. So Claire makes breakfast for Anna, and then maybe Anna, goes through the rest of her day a little extra happy. It's almost like this kindness sort of gets passed on in a way. Whereas if you didn't do that, maybe the day wouldn't have been quite as good. It probably still would have been a fine day. But the sort of cause and effect of our actions, these are things that, in a way, last forever. So even after we're gone, if I die, if you die, if any of us die, maybe even our names will be forgotten. I don't know the names of my great-great-great-grandparents or beyond that. But we are all reaping the benefits of the acts of generosity and kindness and goodwill of all the people who came before us, especially our family members and our ancestors and things, and our parents, our grandparents. So our deeds are kind of like the ground on which we stand, and that's the sort of everlasting effect that we have in our lives. So every act of kindness, everything we do that is just a little bit nice to brighten someone's day, we don't know the effects of those actions, but we can be assured that they're not quite like these material objects that have a sort of timeline. An act of kindness sort of goes on forever. Nice. So if you want, you can go downstairs, Claire. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I'm going to do the first scripture reading, which is Hosea 11, chapter 11, verses 1 through 11. And Ryan wants me to do a prayer of illumination before the reading. Please join me in prayer to illuminate our reading. May our readings and worship today open our hearts to deepen faith in you, God. May we see with our hearts the truths of our unique lives. Amen. This is Hosea 11. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. The more I called them, the more they went away from me. They kept sacrificing to the Baals and offering incense to idols. Yet it was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in my arms, but they did not know that I healed them. I led them with cords of human kindness, with bands of love. I was to them like those who lift infants to their cheeks. I bent down to them and fed them. They shall return to the land of Egypt, and Assyria shall be their king, because they have refused to return to me. The sword rages in their cities. It consumes their oracle priests and devours because of their schemes. My people are bent on turning away from me. To the Most High they call, excuse me, but he does not raise them up at all. How can I give you up, Ephraim? How can I hand you over, O Israel? How can I make you like Admah? How can I treat you like Zeboam? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. I will not execute my fierce anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim. For I am God and no mortal, the Holy One in your midst, and I will not come in wrath. They shall go after the Lord who roars. They shall go after the Lord who roars like a lion. When he roars, his children shall come, trembling from the west. They shall come trembling like birds from Egypt, and like doves from the land of Assyria. And I will return them to their homes, says the Lord. Amen.
Spirit
Gospel reading today is Luke 12, the parable of the rich fool. Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against them. All kind of greed for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possession." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich produced abundantly. And he thought to himself, "What should I do, for I have no place to store my crops?" Then he said, "I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build a larger one, and there I will store all my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have ample good laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it's with those who store up treasure for themselves, but are not rich toward God." Thanks be to God.
It's really good to see all of you. I'll start with a poem by Rumi. So in these readings, it kind of brings up what is God asking of us in our lives? What is God asking to do? One of the main themes pervasive throughout the whole Bible is this, in the Hebrew Bible, it's the tribe of Israel in this constant turning toward and turning away from God. Turning toward God, then turning away from God, turning toward God, turning away from God. That's what Corin was reading. And then what Ahmed just read, this rich fool who he's so focused on worldly things, he's not tuning in to what might be most important. And so what is important? Rumi, has anyone heard of Rumi? Yeah. He was a Sufi mystic who lived in the 14th century. So this poem is called Moving Water. When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you, a joy. When actions come from another section, the feeling disappears. Don't let others lead you. They may be blind or worse, vultures. Reach for the rope of God. And what is that? Putting aside self-will. Because of willfulness, people sit in jail. The trapped bird's wings are tied. Fish sizzle in the skillet. The anger of police is willfulness. You've seen a magistrate inflict visible punishment. Now see the invisible. If you could leave your selfishness, you would see how you've been torturing your soul. We are born and live inside black water in a well. How could we know what an open field of sunlight is? Don't insist on going where you think you want to go. Ask the way to the spring. Your living pieces will form a harmony. There is a moving palace that floats in the air with balconies and clear water flowing through, infinity everywhere, yet contained under a single tent. He's so good, Rumi. So he gives an answer. So he says, reach for the rope of God. So what is this turning towards God? What does that mean? I find myself asking that question all the time. What is that? So Rumi says, putting aside self-will. And he says, because of willfulness, people sit in jail. And that's kind of like a metaphorical jail, or is a metaphorical jail. And he says, we are born and live inside black water in a well. I think, and everyone in here can identify. It's because we're all here because we're We're on the spiritual path in one way or another. And turning toward God is kind of like being in the dark. It is kind of like black water in a well. You don't know. When turning towards God, there's a lot that you don't see. Because in a sense, you start seeing through the plans. We still plan, but we become aware of the fact that the future is not quite under our control, at least not to the degree that we think it is. But sometimes if we live sort of under illusion, we might think that we're in control of our lives and what's going on. I might think that I have a good idea of how this particular sermon is going to go and whether people will like it or not, but I don't have any idea. And then as each of us goes about into our lives, when we cook a meal, even cooking a meal is kind of an act of faith. It is, right? I mean, imagine all the different things involved in cooking a meal. So you're using the oven and the stove, and then you have all these ingredients. And then imagine, I mean, in a tomato, like the many we have downstairs, there's all these cells and different things going on, and then this whole process that, let alone, went through to get the tomato to our table. And then we have our body. Okay, I'm relying on my mouth to speak and my hands to listen to me and my feet to move around. I'm relying on my own intelligence to put together coherent thoughts as I'm talking. If I'm cooking a meal, maybe I'm relying on the internet, this recipe that I just looked up. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I hope it comes together. And then lo and behold, oftentimes it does. And what's really crazy is the scientific understanding that we have about the world around us. It's wildly complex at many levels, at the smallest level down to the atom, to the biggest level, to like the movement of planetary bodies and galaxies and the universe itself, etc. So we live at this human level of existence, and that has all its own complexities. We have fears and aspirations and goals. So if we're cooking this meal, we hope it turns out well. And so all the time we're living in this particular state of life. We're living in our life, almost completely unaware of all the different things that are going on, not even behind the scenes, but right under our noses. Whether it's the physics, whether it's the chemistry, whether it's the biology, this is all happening. It's amazing. And in so many ways, is an act of faith. So in this Hosea reading, God is kind of deliberating. He talks about being incredibly angry at Israel's turning away, but then he kind of calms himself down and he says, "Oh, how can I give you up, O Ephraim? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. I will not execute my burning anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim." So what's interesting about the Hebrew Bible is God is not painted as this sort of, oftentimes, perfect deity. God has his own or her own deliberation. But in the end, God says, "Like doves from the land of Assyria, I will return them to their homes, declares the Lord." I will return them to their homes. Home is an interesting concept, and home in the sense of that spiritual home. How can we be home wherever we are? And like in our unison prayers that we pray all the time, let us be free from fear and anxiety. Home gives us that. Like, I'm a little bit nervous right now, but there's a way that I can be that I cannot be taken by the nervousness. That there's a way that I don't have to be put in jail. And same thing with like the sort of social assessment of myself, or that we all experience in our lives. Do people like us? Does this person like me? Does this person not like me? I hope they do. But is that something that we can hold dear and just place all of our meaning into? No. We're always, going to have someone who doesn't like us, or is rude to us, or says mean things about us behind our backs. Can't control that, you know. I wish I could, but we can't, you know. In the parable of the rich man, it's a really interesting one because from a certain perspective, what this rich man is doing is perfectly sensible. So he's a rich man who has these crops that in this one year produced very plentifully. So he thought to himself, what shall I do? For I have nowhere to store my crops. He says, oh, I'll do this. I'll tear down my barns and I'll build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain and goods. And then I'll be able to say, soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry. On the surface, that seems just fine, right? He's just a man who had the good luck of having a great crop, and now he's trying to figure out how to store it, probably to both eat it himself and sell it. And then God says, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So is the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So Jesus is saying this, and the parable in so many ways is not about being rich. It's not about crops. It's not even about relaxing or not relaxing, working hard or not working hard. It's about being in tune with what we're called to do. And in a sense, not letting our self-will get in the way. This I'm right. There was a teaching I heard that was being right is a super highway to being alone. And it's kind of like that, where if I am, say, doing God's will, that means a lot of things, and it's even bigger than words can describe. But maybe part of the expression that starts to come out of me is I start to be more communal. I start to make more decisions that include everybody. Start to be less selfish, more easily kind. And so there's a lot of passages, particularly in the New Testament, where Jesus is basically saying, be ready. Be ready, because you don't know when God is going to say, like, I need you to do this thing now, and this is very important. He's probably not going to say it quite like that. But we don't know. We don't know when some really important aspect of our life might come in front of us. And we want to be ready. And the funny thing is this being ready doesn't involve being anxious. We don't have to be stressed. In fact, it's the opposite. It's relaxed, it's not stressed, and it's in sort of union with what's going on. This other book I have is this book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Some of you have probably heard of this. So Viktor Frankl was an Austrian Jew who was put into Auschwitz. And this is a man he survived, but this is a man who lived part of his life in the worst imaginable way. In Auschwitz, his father died, his mother died, his wife all died in concentration camps. But what he did, it's incredible, is he took it upon himself, being in the worst possible situation, took upon this duty, from a certain perspective, what God was asking of him, to study suffering. So I'll read first the most doom and gloom part of this. This is about the conditions. I mentioned earlier how everything that was not connected with the immediate task of keeping oneself and one's closest friends alive lost its value. Everything was sacrificed to this end. A man's character became involved to the point that he was caught in mental turmoil which threatened all the values he held and threw them into doubt. Under the influence of a world which no longer recognized the value of human life and human dignity, which had robbed a man of his will and had made him an object to be exterminated, under the influence of the personal ego, finally suffered a loss of values. If a man in the concentration camp did not struggle against this in a last effort to save his self-respect, he lost the feeling of being an individual, a being with a mind with inner freedom and personal value. So this is, yeah, I mean, by so many standards, one of the worst that a human being could experience, right? But it starts to get really interesting, and he says, the way in which a man accepts his fate and all the suffering it entails, the way in which he takes up his cross, gives him ample opportunity, even under the most difficult circumstances, to add a deeper meaning to his life. It may remain brave, dignified, and unselfish, or in the bitter fight for self-preservation, he may forget his human dignity and become no more than an animal. Here lies the chance for a man either to make use of or to forego the opportunities of attaining the moral values that a difficult situation may afford him, and this decides whether he is worthy of his sufferings or not. It's so powerful. And we know the story of Christ is so similar. Someone who we're putting at the center of our worship, someone who was 100% faith. Jesus said, I do not my own will, but the will of him who sent me. And that's why he's exalted. Because Jesus says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. This man who said, I'm going to take humility to the max, to the depths of depths of depths, the deepest you could go, and be absolute in the will of God. And that is, it has nothing to do with power. It has nothing to do with ego. It has nothing to do with any kind of gain at all. It has everything to do with a commitment to going home, a commitment to, in a sense, doing what we are all called to do in this life. And then each of us in our own unique way, because it's not going to look the same, which is one of the reasons why we can't judge other people, say. We don't know, actually, whether another person is moving with the will of God or not. If they murder, then, okay, yeah, no. But in so many senses, the average person, we don't know. So we can only look into our own hearts and sort of maintain this focus on faith, maintain this focus on moving with God. I guess, yeah, I'll stop there with Mr. Frankel. But I think faith is it's not something we attain, but it is a choice. We have freedom. And so in every moment we're called to choose. Am I going to walk in faith, or am I going to walk on some other intention? And if we're looking, we can see if I move with greed, I see some treats on the table at fellowship. There's a way that I can go after one of these treats out of total goodness. I think sometimes there's the fear that being with God means that I'm going to end up on the street, or I'm going to end up I'm going to end up losing everything. That may happen. We don't know, but that very well may not happen. We're all going to find ourselves in these unique positions that God has placed us into. And so that's kind of what faith is, like in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread means I am going to give my daily bread to God. And I'm going to say, feed me as you will. Next thing I know, I'm grabbing some food from the fellowship table. That intention is the choice. It's not about the material things, like these things that might degrade and so on. The spiritual life, the soul, the work of the soul that Rumi talks so much about, that every religion talks about, that Jesus implores us to go on, is to walk on the path of faith and to move with the will of God. So may we all hold true to our deepest intentions. Amen. We come to our time of prayer for all peoples. We pray for all those suffering from fear, anxiety, and depression. We pray for all those harmed by human-caused climate change. We pray for all those suffering from violence, famine, or war. God, in your grace, you hear our prayers. You hear our prayers. Prayers to Greg and Andrea. You hear our prayer. You hear our prayers. Let us say the Lord's Prayer. and feel free to use whatever word for God is best for you. Our Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. So now is the time of offering. We'll have a basket go around. You can give whatever feels comfortable for you.
Can't say that I ever believed I deserved it. I won't pretend that I understand your desire for me. When every intention's lie broken before you, and back to this place, begging your grace to cover me. I'll sing of my need, sing of your faithfulness, and a love that won't let me go. Sing of my weakness, and the joy in your mercy for me. So let me not sing of my put on perfection. Let me not stand on something so small as my promises. And I will sing only to plead my confession. I wanna come home. I just wanna come home. So I'll sing of my need, sing of your faithfulness, and your love won't let me go. Sing of my weakness, and the joy of your mercy for me. So I'll fall on my knees, sing of my gratefulness, how your breath and life to me. Jesus, I've come alone and undone till you cover me. And Jesus, I've come alone and undone till you cover me.
To bless the offering, we'll just ask that all these gifts be used for only the best of all intentions for our worship and our great service projects. Amen. Do we have any announcements? The farm stand. I actually don't know the details about it. Is there anyone who can give the full announcement? Do you know, Corin? Thank you. The meditation will resume in about 2 weeks. Olivia and I are leaving for our honeymoon tomorrow. So yeah, thank you. Very exciting. We're going to Hawaii. So then we'll be back on the 14th. So then that following Thursday, the meditation will start up again, and then we'll also have we'll have a youth night then. So school will have started, and we'll start that up again too. Anything else? All right. Well, your charge of benediction is to just be yourself and follow your own heart. Peace.
All right. Page 700. Let's sing I'm Gonna Live So God Can Use Me.
If you want to sing.